my name is kdm, and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to start a new series of which I depict in two parts celebrities' lives. But what actually sparked it is that I have been hearing rumblings about a TV series on Netflix documenting Selena's life. And at first I was like, I don't really want to do it because I'm a 90s baby. I grew up listening to Selena as a child and being introduced to the biopic movie in which Jennifer Lopez had depicted. I really didn't want to tarnish or taint an image of what I had idolized in a way Selena's beautiful life, and which they portrayed it with Jennifer Lopez. So I was like, nah, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to ruin it at all. But something just told me, let's just check it out, one episode after another. And oh my gosh, I need to eat crow. Because when I tell you, watching the Netflix series, and you can tell that Suzette, Selena's sister, did such a wonderful, taking her time of developing the life of not only Selena, but the values of their family and just everything that they went through as individuals. I say kudos to Suzette of still making sure that her sister's life and legacy continues. So that is why I'm going to be doing the Life of Celebrity series now on my channel, because this Netflix series made me open my eyes to understand that Selena is not just cherished because of the legacy that she has left even still to this day in the Latin American community, as well as in pop culture, but it made me realize that I need to cherish and honor, respect the struggle, the way she came to stardom. I wanted to know more in detail about her accomplishments before the sick individual, took Selena out of this world. So today in part one, we are going to be discussing the life of Selena and the people who were most important to her family, her friends, her husband. We're going to be talking about how she embraced her Mexican heritage, as well as breaking down racial barriers in the Latin American culture. So make sure you like, comment, and definitely subscribe. We're first going to get into background of Selena's parents. Selena was born to parents who truly were the embodiment of an American dream. Her mother, Marcella, and her dad, Abraham, truly embodied perseverance and the true definition of how love can honestly conquer all. So let's get right into it. Abraham Jr. was born February 20th, 1939. So he was a true Pisces, born in Corpus Christi, Texas. So full of passion, determination, and definitely a dreamer. Abraham was a middle child to parents who truly were hard workers. They actually picked cotton, fruits, and vegetables for a living. Now, Abraham grew up as a Catholic, but later on his family converted to be Jehovah's Witnesses. And his mother was truly devout in her religion because she spent some part of her time, telling the gospels from door to door. So even though Abraham grew up in a family that was very passionate about their religion, Abraham had other goals, and he had another passion that he pursued to the hilt. It was in high school where he found the love of music at Roy Miller High School. So in high school, Abraham linked up with two of his friends and they started a group called the Gumdrops. And by his senior year, he was so passionate about his music career that he dropped out. His mom did not approve of it and really did not believe in his dream like that. But that did not deter him. So by 1957, Abraham had saw some of his former classmates at a high school dance. And he loved the group. He loved how, they were singing, but they needed a third lead vocalist. Abraham says, I want to join the group. audition, he made it, and he was part of the group called the Dinos. And surprisingly, when it was time to make their first hit, So Hard to Tell, it became a classical sock hop hit. Another song that became an instant success was Give Me One More Chance. So obviously, Abraham, being part of a group that was dynamic but also successful, made his dream come more a reality. And this was kind of unconventional during this time because you have this Mexican group called the Dinos making successful musical hits in the 1950s and 1960s. They definitely faced racism, discrimination, which kind of hindered their success. It's quite unbelievable now that we see, even back then, a minority group just wanting to sing, and yet they are constantly being pushed back in the forefront because of their race. Due to racism during that time, the Dinos group kind of drifted because by the time 1961, Abraham was drafted in the military. Abraham was stationed in Washington, and that is when he met Marcella, a Native American, Mexican descent woman. In 2 years of dating, they fell hopelessly in love, and on June 8th, 1963, they wed. So Marcella ended up giving birth to their firstborn, which was AB. And by that time, they decided to relocate from Washington back to Abraham's hometown, Corpus Christi, Texas. Once Abraham got back to Corpus Christi, even though he had achieved, honorable success in the military, he never forgot his passion for music. So he reunited with the Dinos and started back up his musical career. And instead of singing, classical sock hop music, they decided to switch up their genre. They were going to try out pop music and rock and roll. But even by this time, we're getting into the 70s, a group who is of Mexican descent singing pop and rock and roll in the 70s is still faced a lot of racial barriers. And it went head to head for this actual group. They were in Texas singing to an audience that was mainly Mexican, and it did not go over well when they just wanted to sing their American English-based songs. They were asked to sing songs in Spanish, and they were just perplexed. And 3 reasons why they were perplexed and shocked. Number 1, they had hits previously. So in this area of Texas, they were well known for singing American English songs. So they were confused about why they were constantly asked to sing Spanish songs. Number 2, they were tired of being boxed in. They wanted to just be themselves. Why couldn't they be Mexican American singing English songs? And third, they couldn't understand their audience. But they also understood this was the wake-up call that they probably needed. They needed to understand, in order to be a success, you have to get back to your roots. And the Dinos understood they had to get back and embrace their Mexican heritage. So once again, the group did decide to reinvent themselves, regroup, and now sing Spanish songs. And can we just say resilience right now? Because defeat after defeat, he could have easily thrown in the towel. He has an established family. He has a successful career in the military. He could have easily said, you know what? I'm done with music. If they don't accept me, if they don't appreciate the type of music I'm singing, I am done. But no, he never once gave up on his dream. So their first Spanish song that they put out, Con Esta Copa, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, became an instant success. And by June 29th, 1967, Marcella gave birth to their second child, Suzette. However, after the birth of Suzette, the Dinos group, their popularity kind of faded in a sense. And Abraham he just decided, you know what, I'm gonna quit the group. And I want to make mention, he quit the group, but he never quit the love of music. So Abraham decided, you know what, it's time for a restart, a refresh. Let me move, get Marcella, our 2 kids. We're gonna move to Lake Jackson, Texas, and start anew. However, during this time, Marcella had been given news that she had a tumor. And with giving the news of having a tumor, they also stated that she needed it removed. Well, she was like, I'm gonna get a second opinion, go to another doctor. When she went to the other doctor, they found that it wasn't really a tumor that she had. She was just pregnant the 3rd time around, and that they were given the news that they were going to have a boy. And on April 16th, 1961, they did not get the boy that they had hoped for. They had gotten the most beautiful, precious daughter, Selena. Now, the first time that Abraham recognized Selena's love for music and her beautiful voice was when his son, AB, was playing around with the guitar and Abraham had been singing along. All of a sudden, Selena had came into the room, perfect pitch, perfect tone, sang so eloquently. And that is when Abraham got the music bug again and saw the star in which Selena was. So Abraham, taking the reins, continuing his passion for music, he said, I am going to create a group in which it would be a family. Suzette will be playing the drums, AB, their son, will play the guitar, and the group is going to be called Selena y los Dinos. Selena and the brothers. But I think it was that torch, that legacy of carrying on the resilience and which Abraham had within his heart to give to his children. So in 1982, Abraham wanted to make sure that his children, and especially Selena, got the exposure that she needed in sharing her voice with the world. He decided that he was gonna open up a Tex-Mex restaurant called Papagayos, the Roosters, where they would enjoy wonderful Mexican food, but also more important, Selena could get the exposure that she needed. Unfortunately though, a year after Abraham had opened up his restaurant, due to the recession, they were forced to shut down. And with the piles of bills rolling up, Selena's family had been evicted from their home, so they decided to move back to Corpus Christi. And one thing I want to make mention of, we're always going to see them going back to Corpus Christi, going back to their grassroots, in which truly love them and get that inspiration back into them. Now, at this point, you would think they're evicted from their home, they have to start back over in Corpus Christi. Let's let go of this music dream that they have and let's get practical. Let's get real jobs and let's, just set aside the passion and get real. No, Abraham never once gave up. They still decided to pursue their dream in music. They will perform on street corners. They will perform for weddings, anything to share music with the world. So in the 8th grade, Abraham decided, you know what, in order for Selena to really take off with this musical career, we are going to take her out. She's just going to be homeschooled. Now, lots of teachers shunned against this idea. And I would say this starts the makings and the moldings of Selena. And the reason why I say this is going to be the pinnacle of molding Selena and transitioning her into this musical superstar is because we will see constantly her need to get approval of her family, the development of this love for music, but more importantly, her inexperience in maturity in making the best decisions, not only for her career, but for her life and the people that she would allow close to her. And if you just think about it, 8th grade, you're 12, 13 years old. Her innocence is lost in a way. She doesn't get to experience what a typical 12 and 13-year-old is going through. She is going to be sheltered with her family. So by Selena still continuing to pursue her musical career, by 17 years old, she was able to graduate from high school, and she was even accepted into Louisiana State University, which I did not know. And she was enrolled at Pacific Western University, majoring in business administration. And I would think that the Netflix show would have, honed in on that, because I think that's wonderful to know that Selena not only was beautiful and talented, but intelligent. So let's backtrack a little bit. In 1984, at the age of 13, Selena recorded her first album with Freddie Records. Now, Selena really wanted to just sing in English. She had connected more with being American than embracing her Mexican heritage. However, Abraham let it be known from the jump, you are going to be singing a genre of music, Tejano music, but you will be singing in Spanish. This left Selena feeling very defeated. Number one, she did not know Spanish well at all. So her dad had to teach her Spanish at age 13. So Selena, being the Aries woman that she is, she wanted her father's approval. And she decided, I am going to venture into Tejano music, which is a male-dominated musical genre. No pressure, right, for a 13-year-old. But I think that's what makes Selena the diamond, because she did apply pressure. So a year later, in 1985, Selena appeared on the Johnny Canales show to promote her record. However, this left a lingering lack of approval within Selena. She wanted to connect to her Mexican heritage, but she always felt scrutinized for maybe not being the most fluent Spanish speaker. But regardless of whatever approval Selena was looking for, Rudy Trevino, the founder of the Tejano Music Awards, actually founded Selena. This would be the biggest break of her life, because in 1987, 2 years later, so she's about 16 years old, she would end up winning her first award as the Best Female Vocalist of the Year. And after that, she would win 9 consecutive times from here on out. So by 1988, Selena would have released 5 more records. In 1989, Selena would sign with EMI Records. And the reason why they chose this record label is because Selena, she did love her Mexican heritage, but she wanted to be bigger. She didn't want to be boxed in as just this Mexican artist. She wanted to cross over into the English world, and EMI Records promised her that. But after signing, she would realize that she would still have to jump through hoops. They would constantly say to her, you need a bigger fan base. You need to at least sell this many albums to even make an English song. And did that defeat her? Absolutely not. So Selena was constantly trying to break that glass ceiling. And back when Selena was the icon, there were no Jennifer Lopez. There were no one looking like her, dancing like her, her style, her fashion. This was something totally unique, especially in a male-dominated music industry. She was honestly one of a kind. So on October 17, 1989, at the age of 18, Selena would release her self-titled album, which peaked number 7 on the Billboard Mexican regional charts. Not only was this an accomplishment for Selena, but it was an accomplishment for her family because AB, her brother, had produced most of those songs that are hits to this day. And I just want to make note of this same year in which she makes her debut successful album on a major record label, she became a spokeswoman for Coca-Cola. What an accomplishment to be a spokesperson for the soda Coca-Cola. And the jingle that you sing is produced by your brother and by an artist, Chris Perez, who was a lead guitarist in her group. Chris was 20 years old at this time, and he started having a relationship with Selena. It was very innocent, but they still wanted to keep it, under wraps, undercover, because they knew how protective her father, Abraham, was. And he didn't want anyone to dim the light and make the star extinguished in their family, which was Selena. So Selena and Chris kept their relationships pretty much under wraps. Selena was very innocent, but more importantly, sheltered. She was not in a traditional school setting. From the age of 13, she had only been around her family. She never had a boyfriend before. She never even kissed before. And at the age of 18, she found someone who truly loved her for her. And if Abraham thought that he could box in Selena, keep her in this glass little case, that was not going to happen. Selena valued her loved one. She valued her family's opinion, but she also valued her heart, in which she would pursue endlessly being in love with Chris. So in the next year, September 1990, Selena recorded her next album, which had the best-selling hit, which everybody know, Baila, Baila esa cumbia. This album would go certified platinum, selling 150,000 units in that year. With the success of this album going gigantically up the ladder, Abraham realized that Selena's fan base wanted a little piece of her, wanted to appreciate her and recognize her. So Abraham said, we need to start this fan club, but I don't really have time to manage it because Selena is a busy woman in which I manage her. So he decided, I am going to recommend a woman to be in charge of this fan club, Yolanda Salvador. I'm gonna stop right here. In part 2, we are going to continue talking about Selena's rise and peak in her musical career, but we're also gonna be talking about how she defended to the hilt and just wanted to share love. And lastly, we're gonna talk about how someone became so obsessed with Selena that they wanted to control her till death do us part. Hello everyone, my name is Key Darlise and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to get into part 2 of the life and the legacy of Selena. And what I reiterated in part 2 was that I was definitely inspired by the Netflix TV series of Selena. We got into background information about her and we understood clearly that her life was much more than what this obsessed fan did to her in the end. But with this series, we're going to get into her accomplishments and let it be known that she was much greater than even what we iconically remember her by. So make sure you like, comment, and definitely subscribe. Let's get right into it. So I last left off where Selena's father, Abraham, had needed someone to take control and be over Selena's fan club. That person he entrusted was Yolanda Salvador. This part 2, we're going to get into Yolanda's background and we're going to get into how This woman with little to no experience became truly obsessed with Selena, that she wanted to hold on to her at all costs. So Yolanda was born September 19th, 1960 in San Antonio, Texas. So she was a Virgo. I don't know if she matches the standards of being a perfectionist, but maybe the qualities of being very much trying to grab control of everything or gain some sense of control in her life. Now, Yolanda was the youngest of 8 children amongst Frank and Juanita Salvador. You'll notice throughout Yolanda's childhood, as well as her in her early adult years, she's constantly trying to fight for her voice, but at the same time being suppressed due to insecurities as well as social peers' influences. So throughout Yolanda's childhood, some sources definitely state that Yolanda was very much a quiet child, and unfortunately she was bullied due to her being overweight amongst her peers. Rarely had any friends. She was an introvert, and I often like to think, just looking through Yolanda's background, was she an introvert because she necessarily wanted to be, that was innate in her to be that? Or was she an introvert because she was constantly being suppressed by people, by body image issues, by constantly being seen as less than? Throughout elementary school alone, she attended 3 different schools in the Edgewood School District. And we're gonna notice that she constantly is moving from school to school to school, from place to place within the Texas area. She also attended 4 different high schools, in which she ended up graduating from McCullum High School. Now, like I said earlier, Yolanda really didn't have that many friends, and she was kind of seen as the outcast. However, in high school, she did become active in the JROTC, but few people remember her. Just with this information alone, Yolanda, throughout her childhood, has moved from school to school, no type of stability. I wonder what was her center space. Who was her circle of friends? Who were her foundations of friends to keep her centered? What did the bullying, did the constant attack mode of feeling inferior play a role in her moving from school to school to school? And then the last question I have is, how did she handle being overweight at such a young age and constantly dealing with her mental health at the same time? Did her parents support her, lift her up, even when her peers were constantly trying to pull her down? Or was it every factor in her life making her suppress her emotions more and more and more to where it would eventually explode? So before Yolanda was able to attend college, in 1983, Yolanda had come in contact with a little bit of financial troubles. She actually was sued by her former employer, Dr. Faustino Gomez. He alleged that she actually stole $9,200. This case was actually settled out of court, so she did not receive any legal or criminal trouble or reprimand for it. However, 2 months later, she had got caught up in another scheme again. She had failed to pay back her student loan for around $7,000. So around 1985, when she was attending the University of Texas, she decided to transfer to Palo Alto College to become a registered nurse. So even before college, we see Yolanda coming in contact with trouble as it pertains to financial matters. You know, hindsight is 2020. We would like to think that she got into these financial troubles, these financial binds, because she was just trying to pursue her education. She wasn't equipped. She was young. She was naive with dealing and handling money. However, we're going to notice that these financial troubles just keep following her throughout her life. Not only was financial troubles the constant haunting in the back, so was her obsession with her weight. And there was no in verbatim research that I found about her having eating disorders. We can maybe make an inference that maybe that's what happened. And I would like to think that a little bit of mental health played a role in it. And that's just a pause right there. With Yolanda, she didn't have that support system like Selena. She didn't have a foundation of love, of where she could actually talk to someone. She had to suppress this, and the only thing that she could gain control, because she couldn't control what people thought of her, the control was with her weight and the out of control of spending money. Now, even after transferring to Palo Alto College, she transferred to various other colleges before becoming a registered nurse. And so I would like to think, did inconsistency become a norm for her? Did she think that it was normal to transition, to move to something else if it doesn't work out? So on December 10th, 1990, Yolanda ended up graduating from Texas A&M University, where she was able to find a job as a registered nurse making $60,000 a year. So the little bit of trouble that she did have with her previous employers, I would hope and think that she was able to resolve that by having a pretty well-paid job, especially in the 90s, making $60,000. That was pretty good. I mean, nowadays, $60,000 is pretty good too. So I can only imagine what it was like in the 90s. So Yolanda began working at the St. Lutheran Hospital. However, once again, she tried to switch different employers to see if she still liked the profession. But after 4 years of being a registered nurse, she was ready to try something else. So in the spirit of Yolanda trying to find something new, to find her niche, she had a passion for Tejano music. And she actually attended a concert, but it was not of Selena's. She actually attended Shelly Lares' concert. Hopefully I'm saying that correct. While she attended this concert, she had the idea, I should start a fan club. She actually went to Shelly Lares' father about starting this fan club, and it immediately was shut down. Shelly's dad was not having it at all. He only hired people that were close to him, relatives, family, people he had a thorough search and background to protect not only Shelly, but the business itself. So you would think that Yolanda would give up the idea of starting a fan club. No, she set her eyes to Selena. Now, Yolanda never was truly a fan of Selena. She didn't really like her that much at all. So I wonder what made her change her mind and wanting to even seek an interest in Selena's music, seek an interest in even starting a fan club, because I would think if you want to be a president, you want to have any affiliation in business dealings with an artist, you would have to like their music, correct? What made Yolanda change her mind? Is it because Selena was a young, thriving artist that was innocent at best, pure at best, and because of Yolanda's nature of trying to grab onto something and control it at best, did she feel like she could control and not only manipulate Selena, but her family as well, because she saw the innocence and the love that poured into Selena and her family, and she could see that gentle glass break. So in 1991, Yolanda tried it out again. Went to Selena's concert, went to the father, asked could she start the fan club. However, Abraham gave her the approval of yes, you can actually be the president of Selena's fan club. And I often wonder, was there a thorough background on Yolanda? Was there a vetting process? I think honestly, this kind of sets the tone for how musical artists are kind of sheltered now, to where you can't just get in their circle if you would like to. There has to be a vetting process, background detail, and even NDAs put in place, to where you have to protect the artist, you have to protect the business. In the same year of Yolanda starting this fan club for Selena, at the age of 20, Selena had hit #1 on the Billboard charts with her duet song, Buenos Amigos. Everything was on the up and up for Selena, not only in her career, but also in her love life. Chris and Selena had a budding friendship that turned into pure, true love. Yet when Abraham found out about their romance, he automatically got enraged. I think we've seen it in the movie, and if you've seen the Netflix show, kicks him off the bus, kicks him out of the band, doesn't want anything to do with him. And I think it just goes back to Abraham wanting to protect his little girl, wanting to protect her innocence, and wanting to make sure that Selena had the best. But Chris was the best. He truly did love Selena with his whole heart and would never hurt her. However, there was somebody else wanting to hurt her, truly, and just got hired. So with Chris getting kicked out of the actual group and being forced to pretty much cut ties with Selena, and it ignited their love so much that they eloped and got married April the 2nd, 1992. Abraham did not take this well at all. He did not approve of his daughter sneaking behind his back, getting married, but eventually he came along and he actually loved Chris like he was his own son. So not only in 1992 did Selena elope, get married to the love of her life, this is where her career exploded to crossover success. At the age of 21, her third album debuted. This is the album where we infamously know the song, Come on the Floor. You know I had to do it. You know I had to do it. And then 2 years later, in 1994, Selena decided to record an album live at a live concert on February the 7th, 1994. And this was the album where she won Album of the Year from the Billboard Latin Music Awards. As well, she was featured in a telenovela. So actress, singer, dancer, triple threat. Lastly, at the age of 23, Selena decided to open up her own fashion boutique. Let's just say Selena did not come to play. She made sure to excel in everything that she did in such a little time that she was here. The two boutiques that she opened up ended up being called Selena. Not only was fashion to be sold, but there was also in-house salons there as well. By now, 2 years into being, or 2 to 3 years into being Selena's fan club president, she was also promoted to take over the finances and the running of the business of her boutiques. So this means that she had the access to Selena's financial records, credit cards, access to physical money, lots of money. The boutiques alone earned up to $5 million in the 90s. So following the openings of the boutiques, Selena decided to release her fifth album, in which we know the most infamous songs of all of Selena, Beady Beady Bam Bam, selling 2.6 million units. So this album not only was able for Selena to cross over, but this broke the ceiling for Tejano music in the mainstream world. And the accomplishment of Selena, not even being a native Spanish speaker, but was able to learn through the love of music, through the love of singing, able to gain so much success by working her butt off tirelessly to gain the success of any Tejano artist ever in history. So Selena is at the height of her career. And like I told you all, at the beginning of 1994, Selena opened up these two boutiques that were very lucrative, making millions of dollars. So it came as a shock. By December of that same year, the finances, the money had dropped significantly. And it wasn't because of supply and demand, but because of someone trying to control anything at any time. There were multiple factors of why these boutiques were not making as much money and the business was not doing well in a year. But it all centered around one person being the cause of the significant drop. Number one, there were complaints by employees stating that their employer was very rude, very nasty, would fire people at the drop of a hat. Another complaint was that people were not getting what they ordered, what they wanted to buy. That person who was the employer of those two boutiques, the person that was over the finances of those boutiques, was, Yolanda. Now, even though Abraham, Selena's father, had gotten many complaints, not only by employers, not only by consumers, not only by family members, telling Abraham about Yolanda's poor behavior in communication, but finances, Abraham still decided to give Yolanda another chance to make things right. I believe, just like Selena, the innocence and the pure love that she wanted to share through her music, it also was a reflection of her family. Abraham just wanted to make people happy. He did not want to cause friction. He did not want Yolanda to lose her job. He wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt and give her another chance to make things right. I want to know, why didn't he fire her? Just looking at her background, before she even attended college, she was a thief. Now, communication is poor. People are not getting their products. You're messing with the business, which in turn you're messing with Selena's name. That's enough to be like, but hey, I guess everybody deserves a second chance, a third chance. Unfortunately though, by Abraham giving her another chance to make things right, Yolanda's behavior only got worse. Not only in communication, but definitely when it came to the finances. And more importantly, Yolanda wanted to gain control and obsession over Selena herself. People often stated that Yolanda would act one way towards Selena in her face, and then when she wasn't in her presence, she was very, very rude. And not only was she obsessed with Selena herself, but with her money, and more importantly, with her life. Following, I wouldn't even say it's the next year in 1995, because in December 1994, Abraham had gotten complaints about Yolanda, making the boutique suffer so much. So in January, Abraham had another issue to address with Yolanda, and that was with the fan club. People had been giving money towards the Selena fan club, expecting t-shirts, CDs. Back in the day, that is what fan clubs were. You would get a t-shirt, you would get a signed CD, you might get VIP tickets, depending on how much money you actually paid towards supporting your favorite artist. Well, when these people were sending their money, they never got anything in return. With the investigation, Abraham had found that approximately $30,000 of forged checks were written by you-know-who, Yolanda. And I would like to think it probably was more than $30,000, because if the business of the boutiques dropped significantly, and that was making about $5 million, who knows how much money was raking in with the increase of Selena's popularity right now. I want to know, why would Yolanda steal? Like, girl, you are living the ideal job. You're able to be around the passion of music, in which you say you love. You get to be around Selena. And I'm pretty sure Abraham, the business, was making so much money that you were being well taken care of. So why did you feel the need to steal? What did it go back to you suppressing those childhood feelings, the mental health of wanting to control something, so you felt like you needed to take from something else? So 2 months later, March 9th, 1955, Lena, Abraham, and her sister Suzette met up with Yolanda, questioned her. Why did you steal? Where can we get the funds back? How can we resolve this? Tell us, why would you do this? To not only Selena, who you say you love, but to the business, to the reputation of what we've worked so hard for. Selena's family grinded day to day as a child on the streets, singing, to now becoming this superstar, this mega superstar, raking in the money. They worked hard for their success. And here Yolanda is taking money right underneath them without even knowing. Not only were they hurt, but they were disgusted to know that they actually trusted someone to just hurt them in the end. So with Abraham being the guy that he is, being the loving father, the loving businessman, the loving person, gave her a chance to make things right. He told her, before I get police involved, I want you to hand over everything. That means financial records, accounts, cards, tax documents, to make this right, or we are going to get the law involved. Little did they know, though, Yolanda never wanted the law to get involved. She always had a backup plan in the end. So Abraham stated to her, give over the documents, give over the records, give over the bank statements, and do not have contact with Selena whatsoever. This is the part where it's going to get sketch, because I don't know why, and maybe that was just the innocence of Selena. Selena still kept in contact with Yolanda, even though she found out that this woman was stealing money that she had worked so hard for. Now, one or two things. I believe Selena was innocent. She wanted to make things right. She didn't want to believe that Yolanda would do something so sinister to her. And Selena obviously didn't think that Yolanda would ever harm her in a way to where her life would be at risk. But I think number two, I think Selena wanted to make it right. And I think Selena wanted to control her destiny. She wanted to make things right by just If I just talk to Yolanda one-on-one, she will give me the records. She will give me the bank statements. She will give me those tax documents. We'll make everything right and go our separate way. I believe Yolanda did not ever have the love for Selena that she thought she had for her. So whenever Selena tried to reach out to Yolanda, or even when Abraham tried to reach out to Yolanda to try to get those documents, Yolanda always made excuses, saying that she didn't have time to do that right now. She even made up a fabrication of being attacked and assaulted. She made it so realistic that Selena even believed her. On March 31st, Selena actually went to the hospital with Yolanda to get checked out for these attacks that Yolanda claimed happened to her. However, when she went to the hospital to get checked, she never, ever got checked with a kit to prove that she was assaulted or touched in that way. Now, Selena, we don't know. Did she catch up or did she pick up on the lies? Did she understand that Yolanda was luring her to the point of a test trial to see if I can get away with this lie, I can manipulate Selena in another way? I wonder, was that the mindset of Yolanda to try to lure her there to that hospital, lure her to make her believe that she was touched or attacked, and if she got away with this lie, she could get away with something so much sinister. So after going to the hospital, Selena proceeded to go with Yolanda to the Hotel of the Days Inn in Corpus Christi, Texas. Now, there were lots of questions that I had with this particular timeline. Why would Selena go to a motel with Yolanda? Even if it was to just get documents, why did you need to go to a motel to do that? If Yolanda was attacked, wouldn't she want to just go back home? Wouldn't she invite Selena back to her house to try to rectify things? Why was this scenery the particular location for them to exchange the documents? Why would Selena go into that room after someone has been allegedly attacked? And lastly, did Selena know by going into that motel room that she would never be able to rectify things with Yolanda? She would never be able to reason with her because obviously Yolanda's mental health had been compromised a long time ago, even before Selena music career ever started. So they're in the actual motel. Selena proceeds to ask her one more time, can I just get those documents and all is well? Yolanda snaps, literally calls her out her name, reaches in her purse and aims at Selena's lower right arm, hitting an artery. Obviously, Selena is not only shocked, but her adrenaline is pumping. She runs out of the room to the parking lot, headed for the lobby, screaming to get help. The minute she reaches the lobby, the desk clerk sees her, calls 911. Little does the desk clerk know, or Selena, Yolanda is on the hunt to finish what she started. She proceeds waving the item in the hand, still yelling obscenities out loud, wondering where is Selena so she can finish her off, trying to find her at all costs. And this is a person who allowed Selena to call her mom, but yet she called her out her name. Selena trusted this woman with her life, with her finances, with her family, with her loved ones. Right now, Selena is fearing for her life of a person who she truly did have love for. Now, before Selena lost conscious in the lobby, she definitely identified Yolanda as the perpetrator, the person who did this to her. As Selena is losing conscious, Yolanda is still outside trying to search for Selena. She finally gives up. She tries to flee in her truck, but yet she's immediately flagged down by an undercover cop, in which it takes over 9.5 hours for Yolanda to finally turn herself in. Unfortunately, Selena had passed away on site. However, they did try to take her back to the hospital to where they did get some kind of consciousness, but yet in the end, she was gone. Yolanda made a lot of excuses, and she is up for parole in 2025, even though she did receive a life sentence. The second twisted thing about Yolanda was that she never owned up to her responsibility. Selena was loved and adored not only by her family and friends, but fans that from all nations could relate to Selena, not only of her innocence, but the pureness that she possessed. She just wanted to spread the message of love, of light, of family, of heritage. And in the end, Yolanda became obsessed with that and wanted to control her and swallow her whole in the end. I know we sometimes like to think of our celebrities, especially who have passed away, by their legacy. But with Selena, we have to keep in mind that she was so much more than just the movie that we have seen of Selena, so much more than even the Netflix show. She had achieved so many accomplishments that I think not only did the movie cheat us out of knowing, but also the TV show. She had accomplished so much under the age of 25. Such an inspiration to all people from all walks of life. We have to remember Selena by those accomplishments, but also cherish that legacy. I hope you all enjoyed the series of the celebrity life and legacy. Make sure you like, comment, and definitely subscribe. Until next time.